Hey there, welcome back. In today's lesson, we're going to be looking at a sentence completion task for IELTS reading. So let's have a look at the task we're going to be doing. This is the task. When you start the IELTS test, what you would do is open the question paper, glance at the task, identify that this is a sentence completion task, but then immediately move back to the text. And what you're going to do is to read the text for gist. Now, that means reading it quickly, trying to get a general understanding of the text, trying to get a general understanding of the layout. You may want to quickly highlight words and phrases while you read, and it's important that you focus. Don't get distracted. Don't worry, you don't have to understand everything. You're just trying to get a general understanding. So let's do that now together. Pause the video and read this text for gist. You can also download the PDF below this lesson if you want to practice highlighting. I've made it a little bit larger for you here. Okay, so when I read this text for gist, these are the words and phrases that I highlighted. Now, I recommend highlighting because it helps you to locate the answers when you're looking at the questions. It also helps you to understand what information is in each paragraph, so it actually saves you time. Now, highlighting helps you to find the answer. For example, if you get a question about early discoveries of glass, then you'll know that that's in paragraph 1. If you get a question about George Ravenscroft, well, a good idea is to highlight names and dates and places, so you can look through your highlights and say, okay, here it is in the 3rd paragraph. If you get a question about the automatic process of making glass, you've also got phrases highlighted like automatic process, and so you'd identify where the answer is. Okay, let's now turn to the question. So this is a sentence completion task. We've got the instructions at the top, and then below that we've got our questions. What's going to be our strategy? Well, we first need to pay attention to how many words we need to write. We can find that here. In this case, it's 1 word only, but it might be something like write 2 words and or a number. After that, we're going to underline keywords in the question one by one, and we'll be doing that together. This process helps us to understand more about the questions. For example, when I did it with this question, I found out that all of these notes are in chronological order, which helped me to locate the answer. Then we're going to scan the text to find the answer, and we're going to read that section in more detail. Remember, you need to choose a word or words that fit grammatically in the sentence, and the answers will be coming in order. Hey there, if you're enjoying this activity, then check out EnglishProTips.com, where you'll get help for all parts of the IELTS test, the listening test, the reading test, the writing test, the speaking test. You can start for free at EnglishProTips.com. See you inside. Let's try highlighting words and phrases together. Pause the video and choose which words you would highlight here. Remember, you can also do it in the PDF download. Okay, let's do it together. Early humans used a material called something to make the sharp points of their something. 4000 BC, something made of stone were covered in a coating of man-made glass. Okay. 1st century BC, glass was colored because of the something in the material. Okay, so these are the phrases I'm highlighting. That's going to help me locate the answer. Until 476 AD, only the something knew how to make glass. Okay, now we don't need to bother about the next one because there's no question, but I would still read that quickly. From 10th century, Venetians became famous for making bottles out of glass. Okay. 17th century, so that's going to help us locate the answer. George Ravenscroft, okay, wonderful, that's really going to help us locate the answer. Developed a process using something to avoid the occurrence of something in brown glass. Okay, so we're talking about brown glass here. Finally, mid-19th century, British glass production developed after changes to laws. Okay, great. So once we've highlighted the keywords in the questions, we're going to go back to number 1 and we're going to look at number 1 and try and locate where the answer is. Now we've got this phrase, early humans, so we're going to be looking at the first paragraph because this has the earliest origins. So let's take this part and read it in detail. Pause the video and try and find the answer, and then we'll do it together. Okay, I believe the answer is in this section. If you don't have the answer yet, see if you can find the answer for number 1 and number 2. Okay. Early humans used material called obsidian to make the sharp points of their spears. Okay, so this is a spear, and this is the tip, also known as the sharp point, so the sharp point of the spear. This sharp point of the spear was made with obsidian. Okay, so obsidian is the answer for number 1, and the answer for number 2 is spears. Now, this material, this obsidian, was made from the mouth of a volcano. So that means the top of the volcano where the lava comes down from. Quite a difficult question. Hey there, if you're enjoying this activity, then check out EnglishProTips.com, where you'll get help for all parts of the IELTS test, the listening test, the reading test, the writing test, the speaking test. You can start for free at EnglishProTips.com. See you inside. Let's continue on to the next one. So, number 3. 4000 BC. Okay, that's going to help us locate the answer. Let's scan the text and find out the information about 4000 BC. Okay, we've got it here in the same paragraph, so let's read this section again in detail. Pause the video and find the answer. Okay, I believe the answer is in this part here. If you don't have it yet, choose a word for number 3. The word you're looking for is beads. Okay, so what are beads? Well, they are small, coloured, often round pieces of plastic, wood or glass with a hole through it, so often to make necklaces or bracelets. So the answer is beads. Remember, spelling is important. Next one, number 4. 1st century BC. Let's scan the text and look for where we can find 1st century BC. Here it is in the second paragraph. Let's read this section in detail. Pause the video and choose the answer. Okay, I believe you'll find the answer in this section here. The answer is impurities. Okay, 1st century BC, glass was coloured because of the impurities in the material. So what are impurities? Well, impurity is when a substance is dirty or lower quality because it's mixed with another substance. For example, impure water would be when you have water mixed with something else like dirt. If it's pure water, then it's only water. Number 5. Until 476 AD. Okay, let's see if we can find that. Scan the text. Here it is. Let's read this section in detail. Pause the video, choose the answer. I believe the answer is in this section here. The answer is Romans. Until 476 AD, only the Romans knew how to make glass. So you notice we've got 476 AD, but actually the answer is above it. So remember, you need to read around the key word to help find the answer. Number 6 and 7, we're looking for the 17th century, but even easier than that is this word or this name, George Ravenscroft. So that's going to help us locate the answer. Let's read this section in detail. Pause the video, choose the correct answer. I believe the answer is in this part here. The answer is, for number 6, lead. And the answer for number 7, clouding. Now notice that the answer for number 6, which is lead, comes after the answer for number 7, clouding. That's typical. Even though the answers come in a chronological order, between, for example, 2 questions, they might be close together and they might not be in the same order. So what does this mean? Cloudy glass is when it's kind of impure, you can't really see through it. However, they found out that if you added lead, then suddenly it would be clear glass, which would allow you to see through it. Number 8, mid-19th century British. Okay, that's going to help us locate the answer. We're looking for the mid-19th century. Now remember, when it says 19th century, we're looking for dates that start with 1800. So it's always 100 years back from what you think. 19th century, we're looking for 1800s. 17th century, we're looking for 1600s. So if we look for 19th century, we can find it here, 1845. That's roughly mid-19th century. So let's immediately look at this text in detail. Pause the video and choose the answer. Okay, this one is a bit more difficult. I believe the answer is in this section here. What do you think it could be? Mid-19th century, British glass production developed after changes to laws concerning taxes. Okay, so it says in Britain, the modern glass industry only really started to develop after the repeal, so the repeal means the reverse, so stopping something, of the Excise Act in 1845. So this act, this Excise Act in 1845, involved heavy taxes being placed on glass. So British glass production developed after they changed the laws concerning taxes, after they removed these laws. A difficult one. Okay, here are all the answers, but don't stop here. This is where the real learning occurs. We're going to listen to an audio version of the text. You're going to go over the questions you got wrong. You're going to make a note of some new vocabulary that you learned from today's activity. You're going to recap what you have learned today. And I would also recommend that you plan in your diary to do this test again in 1 to 4 weeks, because consolidation is what helps you learn. So listen and read.
The history of glass. From our earliest origins, man has been making use of glass. Historians have discovered that a type of natural glass, obsidian, formed in places such as the mouth of a volcano as a result of the intense heat of an eruption melting sand, was first used as tips for spears. Archaeologists have even found evidence of man-made glass which dates back to 4000 BC. This took the form of glazes used for coating stone beads. It was not until 1500 BC, however, that the first hollow glass container was made by covering a sand core with a layer of molten glass. Glass blowing became the most common way to make glass containers from the 1st century BC. The glass made during this time was highly colored due to the impurities of the raw material. In the 1st century AD, methods of creating colorless glass were developed, which was then tinted by the addition of coloring materials. The secret of glassmaking was taken across Europe by the Romans during this century. However, they guarded the skills and technology required to make glass very closely, and it was not until their empire collapsed in 476 AD that glassmaking knowledge became widespread throughout Europe and the Middle East. From the 10th century onwards, the Venetians gained a reputation for technical skill and artistic ability in the making of glass bottles, and many of the city's craftsmen left Italy to set up glassworks throughout Europe. A major milestone in the history of glass occurred with the invention of lead crystal glass by the English glass manufacturer George Ravenscroft, 1632 to 1683. He attempted to counter the effect of clouding that sometimes occurred in blown glass by introducing lead to the raw materials used in the process. The new glass he created was softer and easier to decorate and had a higher refractive index, adding to its brilliance and beauty, and it proved invaluable to the optical industry. It is thanks to Ravenscroft's invention that optical lenses, astronomical telescopes, microscopes, and the like became possible. In Britain, the modern glass industry only really started to develop after the repeal of the Excise Act in 1845. Before that time, heavy taxes had been placed on the amount of glass melted in a glasshouse and were levied continuously from 1745 to 1845. Joseph Paxton's Crystal Palace at London's Great Exhibition of 1851 marked the beginning of glass as a material used in the building industry. This revolutionary new building encouraged the use of glass in public, domestic, and horticultural architecture. Glass manufacturing techniques also improved with the advancement of science and the development of better technology. From 1887 onwards, glassmaking developed from traditional mouth blowing to a semi-automatic process, after factory owner H.M. Ashley introduced a machine capable of producing 200 bottles per hour in Castleford, Yorkshire, England, more than 3 times quicker than any previous production method. Then in 1907, the first fully automated machine was developed in the USA by Michael Owens, founder of the Owens Bottle Machine Company, later the major manufacturer's Owens, Illinois, and installed in its factory. Owens' invention could produce an impressive 2,500 bottles per hour. Other developments followed rapidly, but it was not until the First World War, when Britain became cut off from essential glass suppliers, that glass became part of the scientific sector. Previous to this, glass had been seen as a craft rather than a precise science. Today, glassmaking is big business. It has become a modern, high-tech industry operating in a fiercely competitive global market where quality, design, and service levels are critical to maintaining market share. Modem glass plants are capable of making millions of glass containers a day in many different colors, with green, brown, and clear remaining the most popular. Few of us can imagine modem life without glass. It features in almost every aspect of our lives, in our homes, our cars, and whenever we sit down to eat or drink. Glass packaging is used for many products. Many beverages are sold in glass, as are numerous foodstuffs, as well as medicines and cosmetics. Glass is an ideal material for recycling, and with growing consumer concern for green issues, glass bottles and jars are becoming ever more popular. Glass recycling is good news for the environment. It saves used glass containers being sent to landfills. As less energy is needed to melt recycled glass than to melt down raw materials, this also saves fuel and production costs. Recycling also reduces the need for raw materials to be quarried, thus saving precious resources.
Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure to do this lesson with you. Best of luck with all of your studies, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye.